Hey there everybody, we wanted to talk a little bit about some of the learning curve that we've had. We've been on the road for 5 weeks now, and we've had quite a bit of a learning curve.
No matter how many videos you watch, no matter how much research you do, find out that it's a lot harder than you think. When you get your camper, if you decide to do this full time, when you get your camper, drive it whether it's dry, drive it whether you're going anywhere, take it down the block. Just get used to driving the camper. Adjust your brakes, adjust your the brake booster, whatever they call it, it's in the truck. And then of course you got to reset it when everything's loaded. Water's loaded, your equipment's loaded, your clothes are loaded, because then it gets heavier and that's a lot more weight pushing the truck forward.
One of the things that Caesar talked about before is not being afraid to drive slower than the rest of traffic. I know there's, especially when you're on the freeway, especially when you're on California freeways, the pressure to go along with the flow of traffic when it's like 60 miles per hour on a highway can be stressful. So
absolutely. When traffic's flowing at 70 miles an hour and the speed limit sign is 65 miles an hour, don't be afraid to go 55 miles an hour, and know a long time before you have to exit, or if it's a left-hand exit rather than a right-hand exit. Be prepared miles down the road. It's not as easy to maneuver a pull vehicle as well as a camper, and that was also a big challenge. And look forward, try to look forward. Your side mirrors, rear view mirrors could be a curse. When you see a line of traffic behind you, you're wanting to push. You've got to drive unapologetically. You have to drive at your own pace.
Another big learning curve that we experienced on this 5-week journey so far is the vacation mindset versus the real world mindset. It was hard because our first destination was in an area that I hadn't been to in 6 years, and I had a lot of old friends. So it was really like a vacation. Every day we were seeing somebody new, and I was kind of taking the entire family to sightseeing places, tourist spots, and having to try this restaurant or that restaurant. And so it really did feel like a vacation, and we did spend a lot of money, and we didn't do a lot of work during that time, and it just caught up with us. After 3 weeks being in the same spot, we realized, oh shoot, we don't have the luxury of just packing up and going, back to our house in Texas. Like we've got to keep it moving and keep it going. And I think that was, a big realization, because our work, like mine is on the computer, but his work is just mobile. So he needs to find work as we go place to place in his field that he does. So it's a lot of being prepared. And we were really trying to be spontaneous with how we traveled. If we wanted to spend a week or two longer here at this place, we would. And we thought we were going to be carefree in our travel, and realize that we really do have to prepare. We do have to say, okay, what's our route? Where's our next destination? How can we set up work there? How long are we going to anticipate being in that location, so he can set up work ahead of time, and we can be prepared. So when we land there on a certain date, he can start working, as opposed to landing there and then begin looking for work.
I install, I service exercise equipment. And before, I would get phone calls. In Texas, I would get phone calls and say, okay, you have to be here, and you have to be here at a certain time, which was fantastic because everything was set within a 100-mile radius. And now that we're going state to state, my brokers don't have the region so flexible, or I guess they're not as busy as I would like for them to be able to go from state to state rather than from small region to small region. I've got to think ahead, find out where we're going, make cold calls, ask them if there is any cables or upholstery that needs to be redone, any equipment that's down, and then plan it that way. Just like a coordinator would do, I've got to now do the coordinating and the the tech work.
Another learning curve that we experienced was truck maintenance or vehicle maintenance. Like we anticipated it. We knew along the line something's going to happen. I mean, thankfully our truck is still trucking along, so to speak, and hasn't died on us yet, which is, knock on wood, great.
Yeah, for sure.
But you know, one of the things that we needed right off the bat was a new tire, I believe in Texas, right?
Yeah, we hit Arizona. Supposedly the
heat.
The heat was so bad on the ground or the road. Driving the distance we were driving made it delaminate or peel or separate, I think is what they called it. And it started having a real bad wobbly feeling, almost like you were going over a bumpy road, but all the time.
So we had to buy a second tire once we hit in California. So that's 2 tires that we had to invest in. And then recently Caesar tried to get an oil change done.
The oil change is also a challenge because you're used to going to one place and they do the oil change, they do the oil plug, and now we get to different places, get different oil changes at different places, and somewhere along the line somebody stripped the oil pan plug, which comes out 2 turns and then just keeps on turning. So they're afraid to take it all the way out because it's just going to strip all the threads in the pan, and now the pan's going to have to be replaced. Luckily it hadn't gotten to that point yet. We're going to get there soon because I need to change my oil. We've hit the 3,000 mark.
And that's an unexpected expense of what, about
$600.
$600 that we didn't know was coming. So things like that, and then also the gas mileage. If you fill up on a tank of gas, it used to take you so many miles before, but now hauling a 32-foot trailer behind the truck doesn't give you the same gas mileage.
In Texas, we were getting 350 miles per tank, which was great. We thought it was great. And then we started getting to the mountains, and then it changed to 300 miles per tank, and then we get into a different state, and now it's super windy, and then we have the mountains, so we get 250 miles to the tank. So it changes uphill, downhill, all sorts of different variables. So it's hard to plan. It's hard to plan your route. It's hard to plan your budget. It's hard to plan your outcome until you get there, unfortunately.
Another learning curve, since we've been on vacation mode mentally and physically for the past few weeks, we hadn't been on a schedule. And so one of the things that I got yesterday at Target were these curriculum books, and I was trying to get them to do their schoolwork every day, trying to have like a schedule where, okay, every morning we're going to do this, and you just realize you're with your family 24/7, and so that could wear on both ends. The kids probably get tired of us nagging at them about picking up toys or doing their homework, and vice versa. It stresses us out for if they're fighting too much or if they're, not putting away their things, and so it's just, you're with each other 24/7 in a tight, confined space sometimes. Before in a big house, Ivy would go play in her room, Nicholas would go play in his room.
Now we're down to a smaller camper to where nobody has any privacy, nobody has any space. If you have your own space, you've got to either come outside or lock yourself in a room
to get away.
It's hard to separate yourself into a hot room where you just get more frustrated.
And that brings us to another learning curve, is we didn't realize how important covering up those little windows in the RV would be until we start camping in the summertime, especially in places like Arizona. And so we are definitely going to invest in window covers, whether they're blackout curtains or they're the foil type of I don't know what that was. Foil type of pad that you put on the windows. We don't have a generator and we don't have any solar set up yet. We're looking into both of those. But that was a learning curve, and realized, oh, in California the evenings are cool. This isn't so bad at night. So we're gonna have to kind of watch how to do this on a daily basis and get the most out of every area and every experience, and be able to hike in certain areas and to go, camp out by lakes and waters, which we happen to love.
So that was our list that we came up with. I'm sure there's plenty more learning curves that we that we had that just didn't seem.
And that we will have.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have a lot to learn. We admit that. And we are on this journey together.
Yep. We are on together, and that's what makes it easy. These learning curves are a bummer to me, but then Lydia comes around and says, it's not that bad. Look where we're at. Look around you. I don't know if you can see behind us, there's mountains. There's mountains in front of us. There's mountains here. We're surrounded by mountains. And then it just becomes excited.
Make sure to check out our last video, subscribe to our channel, and follow our adventures on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Lights, camper, action!